All right. Welcome back, everybody. If you're new around here, glad to have you with us. We're going to be talking today about the EntreArchitect Annual Meeting that's coming up a week from today. Kicks off Tuesday evening, November 1st through 3rd in Austin, Texas. And so today I want to give you a chance to meet some of our partners that are helping to make this event a reality. If you haven't heard about this before, what I'm talking about is the EntreArchitect Community Meeting, and it is the business conference for entrepreneur architects. In fact, it's the first ever live conference that's dedicated just to you, just to the small firm entrepreneur architect. I started this live stream series related to the conference about 2 months ago now, I guess, back in August. And I did that to introduce to you our speakers and preview their talks. And now, as I said, I'm bringing our partners into the mix because they're the ones that really make it all happen. So, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Jeff Eccles. If we've never met before, I'm the Vice President of Community Engagement at EntreArchitect, the largest worldwide community of entrepreneur architects. I'm also the host of Context and Clarity Live. Today, I'm joined by Todd Reding. He's the CEO of Charette Venture Group, and he's based in the metropolis of Grinnell, Iowa. So, Todd, first,
Maybe.
thank you for partnering with EntreArchitect on the upcoming conference, and thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. The thriving metropolis of Grinnell,
Thriving
Iowa.
metropolis, yes, absolutely. Um, so, since you know as well as I do that everything that we do, whether it's architects or whether it's Charette Venture Group or pretty much any business, I suppose, at this point, everything is based on relationships and getting to know each other, the whole know, like, and trust factor, right? So, why don't we just take a minute where you can tell us who you are, what you do, and why you do it?
Sure, sure. Well, thanks for doing this, Jeff. You've always been a strong advocate for bringing this community together, and we really appreciate your support of our mission. Some of your viewers have probably heard me speak on EntreArchitect before, probably know many of you. So I won't bore you with my background other than to say, we've been doing this for about 7 years. We started CVG, and Matt started it in 2014. I joined January 2015. And we've assembled what is now 21. We have 21 full-time employees, coast to coast. We've been virtual since day one. So although I'm based in Grinnell, Iowa, my team is all over the place. And, our mission is to help creative people create successful businesses, architects, landscape architects, interior designers, anyone in this creative space. And, we specialize in the business side of things. So who I am and what I do is, I'm a business guy, business junkie. I love talking about business and entrepreneurialism. My creative energy is driven by creating businesses and successful businesses. That's where I can't draw a square box. So I'm definitely not an architect. But I can talk to you about how to run a successful business. And the why is because our founder, the founder of CVG, saw a need in the marketplace that there were thousands and thousands of small architecture firms, interior design firms, landscape architects that just were not, they were underperforming as a business, and not because of some other challenges that affect other industries. They were struggling because the owners never really had training in how to run a business, and they got into it because they have a passion for design, and then they woke up one day and realized they didn't know anything about cash flow and pro formas and marketing. And so that's why we were created, and that's why I do what I do. I love it. All clients are just fantastic people trying to do good things in the world, and are a joy to work with. All of our employees, we have a phenomenal team, the best team I've ever worked with. And we're growing significantly faster than I can comprehend, to be honest with you. That's the who and why.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun to watch. And some of you know I have a history with Charette Venture Group,
Right,
so
right.
this is a nice reconnection here with Todd. It is fun to watch the growth and all of the partners that you're signing on now. I love every one of those announcements, seeing that. And I think everybody in the audience that's, I shouldn't make the assumption that everybody in the audience is familiar with EntreArchitect, because we're streaming out to all of the
Right.
internet. So some of you um, may not be familiar, may have just happened upon the stream somewhere, but you hear Todd talking about business success and architects and other design professionals. You can see where this alignment between Charette Venture Group and EntreArchitect, just, it's like on a billboard, right? It's no
Right.
mystery why there's so much synergy here. And you mentioned Matt Ostanek, the founder, a minute ago. If you want to know more information about Charette Venture Group, go to charettevg.com. Down in the lower left-hand corner of the screen right now is the URL, Charette, 2 R's, 2 T's, VG, charettevg.com. And you can find all the information there. Or if you want to stay up to date on what's going on from the social media side, on Instagram, they've got a great Instagram effort going now. It's at Charette VG. So same as the URL, CHARRETTE. So 2 R's, 2 T's, Charette VG, for both the .com and the at over on Instagram. Like I said, you mentioned Matt Ostanek, who I assume I haven't talked to Matt since right before COVID. So is he still practicing?
He is still a licensed architect. He has moved on to start a new software company that's taking off really, really well. He is still an advisor to me. He's still a shareholder. I did complete the buyout of the majority of our company in June.
Okay.
So I'm now the majority owner, but Matt's still involved, and I speak to him pretty regularly. He continues to remind me of what it means to be an architect.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt is the very definition of entrepreneur architect.
100%.
Yeah, in every way. So you mentioned that you're working with you're driven by this idea of helping architects and other design professionals to build stronger businesses, if we say it that way. So
Yeah.
what does it look like to work? What does it look like for an entrepreneur architect to work with Charette Venture Group?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have a process that we go through to begin working with a firm. The first thing we do is we go through this assessment exercise where we gather financial information, marketing information, information about your leadership style. We do a series of discovery meetings, 3 of them, where we take a deep dive in these topics, and then we do a final report meeting where we deliver back this comprehensive report. Tells you about your firm, how your firm compares to industry standards, gives you some metrics to measure your performance as a firm, and we give you recommendations about how to, things that you should prioritize, which most of the time that's what firm owners are really struggling with, is they just don't know where to focus their time and energy in the best, most productive places. Then at the end of that assessment process, we all consider whether the long-term partnership makes sense. And by that, I mean a 5-year agreement where we provide unlimited services across the board, everything from strategic planning, building out your budget, hiring people, recruitment, management, coaching, just everything related to running the business for your firm. And the firms that are in that program pay us a percentage of revenue. So we don't bill by the hour. We don't charge you for a hotel if we come to see you. It's all included. We have a joint, we're sort of joined at the hip of growing our business requires us to help you grow your business. So there's that program. So for example, I would say there's probably 3 really hot topics going on today that we're working with many of our firms on. For the first thing that most of you who are probably watching this are familiar with is hiring, right?
Yeah.
We're helping our firms recruit the best talent they can. And what I mean by that is we help them sell their firm. I mean, recruitment is sales, right?
Yep.
And I know sales has a negative connotation in many regards, but it is. You're really trying to convince candidates to pay attention to you and to give you some consideration. And in today's market, it's harder than it's ever been. I mean, it's extremely hard to get the attention of interested candidates. So we help our firms through that process, and help coach them on how to go through the interview process and the recruitment. And I mean that seriously, recruiting candidates. The second hot topic is, it seems, I'm not really sure, I'm sure there's smarter people than me that could answer the reasons for this, but there is industry-wide, there's sort of a gap between firm owners who are getting close to what would normally be a retirement phase and the young, I'm not supposed to use that term, younger generation, but the
That's
next
a good
layer of
term.
the next layer of leadership.
Yeah.
There's a real gap there, and so we are working with a lot of firms to really coach those emerging leaders and help them understand what it means to run a business,
Yeah.
and to manage people and to address all of the business sides of this firm so that they're prepared to move into that owner seat at some point. That takes years of work. That's not something you can wake up today and say, I think I'd like Todd to run the business. You really got to be prepared for that. So that's the kind of stuff we help our firms do. And then lastly, I'll mention this because it's really become important to me in the last month. We were introduced to a firm, small firm, about 9 people. And the owner of the firm was tragically killed. And he was only 57 years old. And we've had a front row seat to the impact that has had on the lives of the employees, of the clients, the legal aspects, the financial aspects that go into what the next step is. So I've really become passionate in the last month of helping our firms plan, have plans in place, have insurance in place, have the financial and the legal details kind of addressed. Having gone through and watched this happen has really reminded me how important it is for firms to think about those hopefully never happening things,
Sure.
but definitely to have their ducks in a row so that if it does, there's a plan.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of things we help our firms with.
Yeah. I think, everybody, whether they're watching live now or watching the replay later, I think on some level they can identify with all of those things. I mean, that's when I survey the community about what's the biggest need right now, they may not. There's a lot of the community that are sole practitioners and want to be sole practitioners, so they
Sure.
may not call it hiring. They may call
Sure.
it finding the help, which
Mhm.
could be a consultant or somebody like that. But it's the same. It's in the same realm. Um, we see that, and we talk about succession planning every once in a while on context and clarity, in our context and clarity conversations. And again, different people have different wants and desires. But you mentioned that this is not like you wake up one day, it's a several years process.
Right.
We interviewed somebody on Context and Clarity Live a month or two ago who's went through a successful M&A process.
Oh yeah, sure.
And they identified the fact that I think that it took them something like 4 years or something to get through the planning and get through the process. And they identified the fact that they were lucky that they were able to basically pull it off in 4 years. So I
Wow.
think that really tells the tale of, this is a 5 to 10 year process that you're talking about. And then of course there's like you said, the thing that none of us
Right.
want to think about, to comprehend, to try to get our heads
Right.
wrapped around, but it's real, right? So
Right. Yeah.
preparing for the future.
Yeah.
Uh, when you think about all of those things, and so you said those are the 3 hot topics right now.
Yeah. In my
Makes
mind.
total makes total sense. And I mean, you're talking to a lot of firm owners, a lot of firm leaders, where you're gleaning that, right, and ranking, developing your ranking system for that.
Yeah.
So, what's and this is asking you to way generalize things at this point, but what's one great piece of advice that you have for an entrepreneur architect that's looking? We're in the fourth quarter now of 2022, looking towards 2023. What's one great piece of advice that any entrepreneur architect needs to pay attention to right now?
Yeah, well, that is a big question.
Yeah,
'Cause it,
yeah, it is.
it's more than any one specific thing. I mean, I think in order to be a successful business leader, there's some fundamental rules that you have to pay attention to. And you can't ignore the fact that you need to have a budget. You need to have a vision for what the financial structure of the business is going to be. You need to have some goals and metrics for how the business should perform and understand what those are and be looking at them regularly. I'm not a big fan of sort of the comprehensive 3-month long strategic planning process and the 50-page document that collects dust on the shelf, but I am a fan of planning and sort of asking yourself, where is this going? What are we hoping to achieve? And what are the obstacles that we need to overcome to get there? Those are the kinds of things that a successful business leader thinks about. And I know, and all due respect to all of my design friends, designers, people who are passionate about architecture, they can go down rabbit holes
Yeah.
that takes them away from paying attention to some of those really important things. I tell people all the time, I'm in the uncomfortable position of being paid to tell you what you don't want to hear. And what you don't want to hear is you need to stop worrying about that and let's get to work on the budget for 2023. It seems like every conversation I'm in, every news story that comes up starts talking about this stupid recession, which I'm just going to tell you, if architects are the canary in the mine, I see no indication of slowing down. I mean, there's every firm we're working with is trying to hire. Every firm has a pipeline that is bigger than it was at this time last year, and they're just busy. Now,
Yeah.
you could play this recording in 3 months and call me an idiot. That's fine. I'm just telling you what I see today. I'm not doing anything to slow things down. We are full speed ahead. Every client we have is full speed ahead. So those are some things that I think you should give some thought to. I mean, of course, I believe in this because it's what CVG is, but I believe in outside counsel, whether it's us or whether it's Mark LePage or Jeff Eccles or anybody else in this entrepreneurial architect community that has experience working with firms. I really think firm owners need that outside counsel. I need that outside counsel, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
you need that third party perspective helping you guide your business and making sure that you're paying attention to the right things and holding you accountable, calling you out when you don't get traction on those things. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's another thing I would put out there for advice.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, at EntreArchitect, we get help from the outside as well, because we're all in our own bubbles.
Right.
It's easy for Mark and I to sit around and plan this, plan that, and oh, this will work really well, and according
Right.
to who? According to us, we don't matter.
Right.
This community that we've been building are the ones that need to. That we have to be able to connect with. So,
Mhm.
yeah, outside counsel is a great suggestion. And if somebody plays this back in 3 months, then we're both going to be idiots because I'm with you on the forecast. I think it's my feeling is that it's strategically hyped in a certain direction. So, um,
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. I'll put it on the calendar. We'll have lunch or something in 3 months and
Well,
revisit our notes.
the reality is that we have no control over it, right? And
Right.
let's not worry about things we don't have control over. Let's run a good business, build a good, solid marketing program for your
Yeah.
company. Get out there, stay relevant in the minds of your clients, and I think it'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's a good point. I mean, you were talking about planning and building the foundation and all that, right? That's what you can do,
Right.
right? Whether a
We
recession
can't
comes or
control.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. One thing I did not do earlier, and I should have, for anybody that's out there, if you're in a Facebook group right now and you're commenting away and your comments are not showing up on the screen, it's because there are these things called privacy policies. Facebook won't let your name or your likeness or your comments out of this private group that you're in unless you give permission. So if that's the case for you, I put a URL in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Open up a separate browser window, type chat.restream.io/FB, like Facebook. chat.restream.io/FB. You go to that URL, and a couple of clicks later, you can give Facebook permission to communicate with Restream, and your comments will show up. And we're happy to take any questions or comments here in the next couple of minutes if you have any for Todd. We can talk about those, but chat.restream.io/FB is the key in case that's not working for you there. Todd, I'm joined today by Todd Reding. He is the CEO of Charette Venture Group, CVG, because Todd's going to be in Austin, Texas in a week.
Yeah.
A week. A
Yeah.
week from today, the EntreArchitect Community Annual Meeting kicks off for 3 days in Austin, Texas. If you are not familiar with it, go to smallfirmconference.com. You'll see a list of all of the speakers, some background on who they are, what they're going to talk about, all of our sponsors. You can find the schedule, find out about the venue, and register to join us in Austin in just a week. We're going to kick it off. It's going to run Tuesday evening through Thursday. One of the things that I'm most enthused about in terms of this conference is, beyond the people that are partnering with us like Todd and CVG, the people that are speaking and all that, is the fact that this is a single track conference. And by that, I mean that when somebody like Joyce Martyr is speaking, you see her pop up on the schedule. Go, oh wow! I heard Joyce talking to Jeff on one of these interviews. I'd really like to know more about how my mindsets affect my my financial health. But do I go to see Joyce, or do I go to see somebody else? There's none of that. You're going to go with all of us to immerse ourselves in Joyce's presentation, in the work that Joyce gives us, and learning the lessons that Joyce is sharing. And then we move on to the next thing altogether. So it's immersive. Many of the speakers and the partners are going to be there for the whole time. So you'll have time to get to know them even when they're not up on stage, right? When they're not giving a presentation or something like that. So it's a completely immersive experience for all of us, with all of our partners, with all of our speakers. So it's going to be a great event there in
Yeah, you've got a
Austin.
great lineup of speakers. Having
Yeah,
worked in this field now for the last decade, it's I know many of them, and
yep.
they are excellent speakers. I'm sure your attendees will get great value out of this conference. I'm thrilled you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's it's all about, Todd's been talking for the last few minutes about building a business, which, he and I have talked about this for years. Many of you know I'm teaching 2 pro practice classes now, and they're all focused on building businesses, because this is what the reason I'm enthusiastic about teaching pro practice classes is because myself and a large percentage of people who went to architecture school say, hey, I didn't learn anything about the business of architecture in school, and we need to change that. And that's really what this conference is about hooking you up with people like Todd, um, hearing people like Joyce or Randy Wilburn or many others, and helping you not only build a better business, but figure out how to practice the way that you want to practice. Right. There can be a little bit of creativity here. We've got some fundamentals that we've got to take
Yeah.
care of, but many of you went out on your own, so to speak, for personal reasons, family or freedom or whatever it is that you wanted to do. So that'll be part of this conversation, is learn how to do it well, and do it your way. Um, Todd, one of the things that I really like to focus on when I'm going to an event like this, or planning to go to an event like this, is ask the question, how can I be intentional about showing up, being present, and really being intentional about what I get out of this conference? So do you have any tips on what somebody, and like you said, the speaker lineup, what's going on here. Do you have any tips on being intentional and preparing to show up at this conference?
Yeah, I mean, I would go in and look at some of the backgrounds of these speakers so that you kind of know who you're listening to. They are very impressive, and they have an impressive background. All of them do. And I would definitely bring a notebook and
Yeah.
take
Oh,
notes.
yeah.
And just ask yourself, in every session that you go to, ask yourself, what are the 2 or 3 key ideas I
Yeah.
can take away from that session? I mean, if you try to, absorb every ounce of it, you'll be brain dead by noon. But what key pieces of advice were valuable? I think you'll find a lot of inspiration at
Yeah.
this conference. If you're like me, I mean, of course, I'm passionate about business. So every business magazine or business book I pick up, I get about 5 minutes into it, and I'm already like applying things that it's talking about to my business or my world. And I suspect many of you will have the same experience at the conference.
Yeah.
These are smart people who you will walk away with some really good ideas. Now, the trick is, you have to execute, right? We all have
Right.
good ideas. I mean, we've all been to these conferences and thought, oh, that would be fantastic to do. And then we go back to our world and get back in our chair and just go along like we always have. Be committed to,
Yeah.
execution, and
Yeah.
find whatever help you need internally or externally to help you apply the things that you learn at this conference.
Yeah, yeah, that's great advice. And many of these speakers are doing well, I don't know the right way to say this, but it's more than just a talk. They're bringing spreadsheets, they're bringing tools, they're going to actually train you in whatever the topic is that they're talking about. So I think that's important. Yes, bring a notebook, get your big takeaways, and commit yourself to execution. That's really great advice. And if you're watching this now, maybe this is the first one of these that you've seen. Probably the easiest thing you can do if you really want to dive into who some of these speakers and sponsors and others are is go over to the EntreArchitect YouTube channel. There are 2 playlists to pay attention to related to what we're talking about today. There's a playlist for Context and Clarity Live. Many of the speakers, if not all of them by now, um, for the conference have been our guests on Context and Clarity Live. So you can go through that playlist and you can cross-reference it to the list of speakers of the conference. You can find all of these speakers. I've also interviewed in a format just like this just about all of the speakers and sponsors by now. We've got several more conversations coming up. 3 more business days left this week, and 1 more next week before I fly. But there's a playlist for all of these as well, and so you can, in a short format like we're having right now, you can hear from some of these speakers and sponsors as well. So, EntreArchitect YouTube channel is the home for a lot of those, or for all of those videos. So you can immerse yourself in those and learn more about the speakers as well. So there you have it. I want to be respectful of Todd's time and your time as well as you watch this. So this is Todd Reding. He's the CEO of CVG, Charette Venture Group. Also, Todd and CVG are partners in this whole venture we're calling the EntreArchitect Community Annual Meeting. It's taking place in Austin, Texas next week, November 1st through 3rd. If you are an architect who wants to learn to build a better business that allows you to practice in your own way, or maybe you're the employee of a firm that you'd like to take this information back to your firm, or you might even aspire to start your own practice, go over to smallfirmconference.com for more information about this conference. Again, it's the first ever live conference that's dedicated just to you, to small firm entrepreneur architects. So check it out. I promise that you will not be disappointed in that. Also, if you want to know more about Charette Venture Group, there it is in the bottom left of your screen, CharetteVG.com. So Charette with 2 R's and 2 T's, VG like venture group, CharetteVG.com is the website. And then the same handle there for Instagram, Charette VG, at Charette VG. They've got a good thing going on Instagram as well. Todd, as always, great to talk to you. Thanks for joining me, and looking forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you too, and wish everyone watching the best. Please contact us if we can ever be of help.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you want to do that, go to CharetteVG.com. All the contact info is there. Reach out to Todd and the team, and maybe they can help you build a better business. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today, whether live or on a replay. I think this is my last interview of the day, but certainly the next 4 business days, we're going to have a lot more of these leading up to flying to Austin next week. So, smallfirmconference.com is the place to get that information. Register and join us in Austin. Until then, please be well, stay safe, keep those around you safe and well. Take a little time to breathe, relax,
Right.
find a way to rejuvenate. We do these every day, so you got to pace yourself. It's a long game. Thanks for going along the journey with us. Thanks, everybody.